So I know you got to wait for, let's see, we'll probably see people pop in.
Okay.
But in the meantime, go ahead.
We can go ahead and go. Okay.
Yeah.
Praise Allah. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. Peace, family. We're here at Muhammad Mosque number 6 with our beloved brother, student minister Carlos Muhammad, who's in charge, by Allah's permission, to represent the Honorable Louis Farrakhan here in the city of Baltimore and the Nation of Islam. So, Brother Carlos, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Alhamdulillah. All praise is due to Allah. Thank you so much for having me on, which we pray will be future broadcasts
Yes.
or Facebook Live. Assalamu alaikum to all of our live viewers, and of course those that may come back and watch the broadcast afterward. But how's my brother doing?
Man, I'm giving thanks, brother. It's good to be alive in this hour, even though it's a dark day. It's a bright day for those who seek righteousness and goodness.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to get right to it. I know you've been busy. You're always busy. You just gave a powerful lecture today by Allah's permission. But the first question we have is, the minister, how's he doing?
Well, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, from the last time I was blessed to see him about 3 weeks ago in the city of St. Louis, was in very good spirits, and as always, teaching and guiding us in the intimate moments, as well as, of course, we were there for the tribute to Brother Akbar, and he, as always, brought relevancy to that moment and what Brother Akbar meant to him and to our nation personally. So the minister was in very good spirits and seemed to be doing well. But as always, we ask that Allah protect and preserve our beloved minister.
Indeed.
And grant him good health and grant him long, long life. But it's always good to see him in cheerful and good spirits. But one thing about him, he never negates in offering and giving us teaching moment, striving so that we can be better in what we're doing.
Praise be to Allah. Well, I can't speak for you, sir, but I know for me, if were it not for this man, I wouldn't even be sitting here today.
Neither would I.
Okay, so alhamdulillah. So let's jump right into it. Now today, your lecture, I believe, dealt with the savagery in America, and this was part 2 in the series. Mm-hmm. Exactly what prompted you to go there?
Well, of course, in all of the major cities across America, it didn't just get like this, but of course, in the age of social media, it kind of affords the people in the public to be able to see, almost sometimes in real time, what's going on in America, in our neighborhoods, and America as a whole. But this subject is taken from the chapter in Fall of America entitled The Savagery of America, and how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, through his minister as well, has shown us the root causes of the behaviors that we see. And so in this generational time where our young people seem to be reckless and out of control, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us in his flagship book, A Torchlight for America, that black people are being positioned by the wickedly wise policymakers as the scapegoat or the reasoning for the country's ruin. And so in our city where we live, Baltimore's on the news all the time. In fact, I think it just got one of the worst, most dangerous city in America. And they pick and choose those cities based upon their stats. But wherever our people are, you see the same suffering. You see the same systemic problems, the poverty levels, the unemployment, the drugs, and all of these things. But thanks be to Allah, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his minister have given us the root causes so that now we can begin to address what is always appears to be the effect.
Yes, sir.
We see the effects, but we don't know the cause. And now that we can deal with the cause, we can begin to repair some of the systemic conditions that we see that our people are in.
Allahu Akbar. Now, in the current edition of the Final Call newspaper, we see Ferguson 5 years later. Now, in regards to that headline and what's going on after 5 years, what are your thoughts on that, how shall I say it, in relations to the city of Baltimore and what's presently going on?
Well, it's interesting enough. If we go back to April 27th excuse me, I was going to say 1962, because that does have a significant part in our nation's history with the police attack on Mosque number 27, historically speaking. But April 27th, 2015, we had our uprising take place, which we were shoulder to shoulder out there in the middle of that.
Absolutely.
When I was blessed to see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan a few days after that, he was talking about Ferguson and the other cities. He said that Baltimore at that time was just the latest stop of a train that was traveling in terms of the abuses that our people have had to deal with, and that it reaches a point and it blows. He says, so Ferguson yesterday, Baltimore today, Miami or another city the next day, because the suffering had reached a point in the city that Freddie Gray's unfortunate death at the hands of police officers was the spark that just ignited the already built up energy that was in our people. So when we look at Ferguson, I was just blessed to be in St. Louis twice within a month, in less than a month. And big shout out to Student Minister Donald and Captain Allen and all of the brothers and sisters of Mosque number 28, because they were blessed to kind of take me through. And you know what I saw in St. Louis? I hadn't been there since 1996, I believe was the last time I was there with the Honorable Minister, and that was a long time ago.
Yes, sir.
It reminded me of Baltimore. I saw even like how things were arranged in the city, how people hung out in the city, standing at the gas stations, standing in front of the convenience stores. Black people live in close proximity to the downtown, where all of the arts and the tourist attraction, the baseball fields. But of course, they're trying to gentrify and get black people from out of downtown. So they took me through what Ferguson really was.
Yes, sir.
And in this municipality, and you could see the same systemic problems. You know why? Because just like in Baltimore after the uprisings, they are interested in rebuilding buildings.
Exactly.
They're not interested in building people's lives.
Exactly.
But what Ferguson showed us, what Baltimore showed us, what other cities showed us, whenever there was a fight and because of the cry of injustices, it shows us the potential that we have to unite. The main thing is, can we come together around a common thread and not get into the silly, petty arguments that we've seen that among our people, or religious lines, financial lines, status, all of these kind of things. And the Honorable Minister said something, and I'll close with this. He said, we judge our brothers and sisters out here in these street organizations. The white man calls them gangs.
Right.
He said, but the worst banger is the religious banger.
Come on now, say that. Talk about it.
Because we're no better when we look at how we do. Now, we judge them. They out there with them colors on and them bandanas, but I got a star and crescent. You got a cross. You got a 6-pointed star. We got this symbol and that symbol. And we're all arguing when we're taught in the Holy Quran that all of the messengers and prophets of God are from Allah, and we make no distinction among them. And so I pray that we can translate that into a reality among the religious houses of worship in Baltimore and cities across America, that we can see the common thread of the message of the prophets and messengers of God, so that we can give it to our people in a way that will bring healing to them and put them on a road to righteousness and success.
All praises due to Allah. I'm glad you used the word uprising, because there are those who like to use riots. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, it goes back to what we were saying in the message today from the minister. When we have been positioned by wickedly wise people as the reasoning for the country ruin, then black people basically look like we're the reason why America's messed up. You want to talk about the orange man in D.C., the country was messed up before he even got in. But the minister did say if he gets in the office, he will take America to hell on a rocket ship.
That's what he said.
So the point is, it's dangerous because many people buy into that idea. So when he's saying make America great again, he's really saying make America white controlled, white this, white that, so that any of us that come to consciousness would have to deal with our people who basically now take the position that this is how things are. But then the enemy looks at our people, those that are maybe doing a little better, as well as the ones that are not doing well at all as the same group.
Yes, sir.
That young brother on the corner has to concern himself with a law enforcement and policies in law enforcement that have now become militarized, where he's out there. Yes, he may be breaking the law, he may be selling drugs, but there's a root cause to that. The police should arrest him, maybe. But what ends up happening in the mind, the training, is that the black man is a savage, an animal.
Yes.
Right? This is their belief, right? And so how do you deal with a savage? How you deal with a wild beast? How you deal with an animal?
Talk about it.
You either trap it, brutalize it, inoculate it with some type of drug, maybe, tranquilize it, or in most cases you lay it down, you kill it. So that same brother that we complain about with his pants hanging down and his gold fronts and this, that, and the third that we don't agree with, he has to deal with law enforcement in one way. Then if we driving in our car, if we get pulled over, we're just like him now.
That's right.
We got to try to figure out, am I going to make it out of here alive? Because the police departments are out of control across America. So I leave with this image. We go back to that brutalization of this beast down in South Carolina at Mother Emanuel Church, when our family was murdered in cold blood by this demon that they took to Burger King afterwards.
Yeah, sickening.
You say, well, I'm not calling his name. You know his name.
Right.
But he's a devil, a demon.
That's right.
And the law of Moses should be applied to him. When you look at that scenario, what was it in the psyche of our beautiful brothers and sisters praying that allowed that white boy to walk in that church?
Think about this.
It is because the psychosis of the white Jesus. So when he walked in with the mind and the heart to kill, our poor family in their good-natured heart saw Jesus, so-called, the image of Jesus, a white man. But had it been one of these young brothers from our community that they complain about walking with his flag, with his pants hanging down, he might be smelling like loud, they would have said, call the police.
Absolutely.
He's coming in here to rob us. He may have been coming and say, hey, I want to be saved.
Absolutely.
I'm tired of banging. I'm tired of living this life. Family, pray for me.
Yes.
But this demon came in and acted and pretended to be interested in prayer, only to kill our people down in cold blood. So what we're saying is in 2019, going into a new year in a few months, the psychology of hatred for black self.
Come on now.
And love for people who have shown historically that they're not our friend continues to go on. And that's why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad coming from his mouth, the truth coming from his mouth to us and to people that have not yet heard the message, is a thorn in the side of white supremacist America. He's a thorn in the side of the bloodsuckers of the poor, because you know that as long as that teaching from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is coming through the mouth of his servant and those of us that follow him are given to our people, you know that your civilization is in trouble. But God already judged you and found you erring, and your civilization has been weighed in the balances and found wanting. If the orange man was smart,
yes,
you would reverse that rocket ship. But you know what? The minister said something in Detroit many years ago.
Okay.
He brought up, Harry Belafonte was sharing with him that issue of Dr. King at a time where he saw him and looked a little melancholy, he was worried, and he asked him, what's wrong? And he said, well, Brother Belafonte, this is Dr. King talking according to what Harry Belafonte said, the minister was sharing it. Said, I'm afraid I've been trying to integrate my people into a burning house. The minister said, yeah, see, it's better to get out of that burning house. But our slave nature is to try to save that burning house, when really we should get out of that house and let white supremacy burn all the way down. And we got what it takes, and we have what it takes to build our own reality and build a new house that even all of the human family can find a place in. So I thank Allah for being a part of this, and blessed to be able to be with a man that has a solution to the problems that our people continue to face in the modern time.
Absolutely.
I didn't mean to take so long
brother,
with that.
I'm enjoying this, but you open up so much, and we can't go on and on and on, but we do want to continue and bring it to a close gently, if you will.
Yes, sir.
But you made mention of Jesus. Now, there are those who think that we as Muslims don't accept or even believe in Jesus. Please address that.
Well, to the petty ones, it really doesn't matter what we say.
Good point.
They're not going
That's a good point.
to see it. Because most, in the petty sense, you have Jesus by name, but you don't have him in reality. When you're dealing with the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the leadership of Minister Farrakhan, you're looking at the work of Jesus. For 89 years, you're looking at the work of Jesus. You're looking at the work of Moses, the work of Muhammad, the work of Abraham. All of that is capsulized in the Spirit of God that came among us and touched the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in a way, giving him a medicine and a knowledge to heal the fallen black man and woman of America who had been enslaved, who had been robbed of knowledge of self. And so though we were being brought back to the nature in which God created us, which is Islam, and being brought back to our natural religion and brought back to our natural way of life, he had to struggle for 44 years just to lay a foundation that eventually his beloved star minister would come and have a chance to do it with my generation that didn't get a chance to see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So you're looking at resurrection in reality. See, because if the Jesus of 2,000 years ago was here, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Abraham, all of them were here in the modern time, what would they be doing in the black community? Trying to get us from drugs, trying to get us from killing each other, giving us a message of truth, restoring us back to God. So how is it that you claim that we don't know Jesus and that we don't believe in Jesus when we are, in fact, the recipients of the real workings of Jesus in the modern time? So I would say to the petty ones, they don't care.
Right.
But I tell you, go on and what's your Jesus?
Yeah.
And if your Jesus can defeat one of these racists out here,
listen to this,
that live in the backwoods of America, right? Then good. But if my leader and teacher and our leader and teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, has been on task for 40 plus years now, working to redeem us, taking all of the insults, not only from whites, but from his own people, but yet he stands right now and loves us regardless of what we think. You should take a look. Maybe the Jesus that you've been believing in, you just don't have him in reality. You got him in your heart. I understand, but you don't have him in reality. So don't be mad at us that we do.
Right.
Because he's not just ours, he's yours too.
Yeah,
if you understand.
Praise be to Allah.
So may Allah bless you.
Yes. Now, just last month.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you all for tuning in, and Brother Carlos has agreed this will not be the last time. Inshallah, we're going to do this as often as possible, perhaps like a monthly, monthly schedule. Just last month, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talked about, and I'm paraphrasing him loosely, but the point is he dealt with the fact that there are those who look at him and worship him. And this is not a vain man. What I know of this is a very honorable, humble man who's not seeking favor for himself. Could you speak to those who think that we try to put the minister on a pedestal?
Well, naturally, love can cause us to elevate people that we have benefited from, especially in a beautiful and godly way as we have with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And the way that God makes a servant, this is how you know that he's from God. Because he makes sure that when he sees that, he puts it in proper perspective for us.
Good point.
He understands the natural leaning towards that. You know, there used to be this song, You know, even though it was kind of before my time, but you know, it's one of them old school songs.
Yes, sir.
There's a thin line
Right.
between love and hate,
I remember
right?
that, right.
And then they made a movie off of it. For those that don't know the song, you know the movie with Martin Lawrence and Lynn Whitfield.
Exactly.
But okay, well, there's a thin line between love and worship.
Teach.
This is when we look at the nature of the baby. There's no more greater God to that baby than its mother. But over time, through growth and development and through intelligence,
Good teacher.
it has to be weaned off of these forms of worship.
Yes.
What form of worship? The worship of the breast, or the milk,
Real talk.
or the food, or the love and the handling. These are forms of worship.
Listen.
But as time goes on, nature tells us we can't stay on the breast forever. And we can't necessarily stay in mommy's arms or daddy's arms no more, but I'm speaking more of the mother. Then it is the job of the mother and the parent now to help groom and shape, to transfer that form of worship off to the real existence of all of the lives. That they exist and the baby exists by a higher power. That's as we introduce our children to faith now and grow them up in faith so that we can put the proper worship to where it is. But I close with this. As the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us those instructions, I would ask that our viewers go back and study that July 21st message from Mas Mariam. It's beautiful as the minister looked in that green fez and that cream suit.
Yes.
Trust me, don't get so caught up in that outer, because that's the natural. That's easy.
Right.
Because we caught it. I like that. Boy. But it's what came from him that is more important, that we got to go back and parse those words and come up on. But I'm going to go personal now.
Go ahead.
In the 29 years that I've been blessed to be following this beautiful man, I have been blessed to be around him. I don't take it lightly. I don't think that I know him in the sense that, you know, I'm his student. So I'm not common with him. Because when I'm blessed to be around him, I don't want to think that I know him so well that I miss what he's trying to teach. And comfortability, you know, can breed disrespect, you know, sometimes. But in all of these years, there are two things that I highlight that the minister has never done to me.
Okay.
Two things. The first one is what we're talking about. He has never asked me in no shape, form, or fashion, alluded to that I should worship him.
Right.
What I watched him do with me as well as others, that when he sees that unconditional love, he know what he looking at. He know what he looking at in his young brother, in his student. And like a son, you know, I'm enamored.
Right.
But he gives guidance on that. There's no God but Allah.
Yes.
See? So he just recently said, if Allah leaves when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is gone, or the minister is gone, then we in trouble. But Allah never leaves.
Never.
See?
Yes.
So that's what you remain to. So he's done that for me and tens and hundreds of thousands of others if we was listening. But it's personal with me. He never asked me to worship him.
Yes.
And if it looked like I was, he got that up off of him very quickly, so that as I matured, I began to understand. The other thing that in all of these years the minister has never asked me to do is harm an individual.
See?
Never.
See? Key.
He's never asked me to go hurt somebody physically, spiritually, but physically mainly of what I'm talking about, because of disagreement, something somebody said about him and the nation. He's never alluded to it.
Right.
If you will, he ain't never winked an eye.
Right.
You know, I know what I just said, but he ain't never did that. Never. Even though he knows we feel a certain kind of way because people have done all kind of things and said all kind of things towards this man that we love. And because he knows our zeal.
Yes, sir.
That is rooted in a real love, Allah blessed him to be able to guide that zeal and to keep us focused so that we would never make an emotional decision that could cost us either our lives unjustly, the loss of family and time away from family. He's always been able to show us a better way to win. And that's the beauty of following a man like that.
Praise be to Allah. You know, from what I've been able to see of the minister, he's such a beautiful being. And something I noticed that you alluded to a minute ago, I mean, for real, Brother Carlos, if they were being honest about the best dressed men in the world, the minister would, in my estimate, he'd have to be number one, at least in the top 5. But the point is, in all seriousness, is that he doesn't get hung up on the outer garment. That's something that he does really to try to capture our attention. Mm-hmm. You know, he just wants to bring you love. He wants to bring you peace, understanding, and guidance. He's not hung up on that. So a lot of us, you know, you do what you do. I like nice things too. Yeah, but I'm not strung out on what the man has on. I want to know what he has to say. Mm-hmm. Let's go back real quick. You mentioned Brother Akbar earlier, and they just gave a tribute to Brother Akbar, and I think you can elaborate on this. Brother Carlos, the minister himself gave you another assignment, if you will, in regards to Brother Akbar. Mm-hmm.
Well, the issue of my relationship with Brother Akbar, and may Allah protect and preserve him, is that we both love history. And my thirst for the knowledge of the history of Nation of Islam has been with me since I've joined. And as time went on, Brother Akbar began to open up and teach me things and share tangible artifacts with us. But as time goes on, Brother Akbar saw that he had a younger brother that he could begin to invest in to make sure that our narrative is constant. And the minister saw that and basically knows now that, you know, my job is to make sure that all of the work, not that Akbar is done and finished, but all of us have to reduplicate ourselves, because if Allah took any of us at the moment, once we gone, we take the whole. I think there's a parable about when one wise person or a person with a lot of knowledge dies, it's like a whole library went in the grave with them. So my function serving as the Student National Archivist of our nation is to make sure that our narrative and our legacy and the works of our Savior, Master Fard Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and his minister, as well as everyone else that came from that reality, the unsung heroes, many that we don't know their names, that won't go down in vain. So that's in that. But the minister said of our brother Akbar, that Allah caused him to see brother, and coined it like this. And he said, for real, that he's been my recording angel.
That's powerful.
He said, because, and he shared this with me at another time, but he brought it back up in relationship to Brother Akbar. He said, you know, when a man is in a mission, a divine mission, he don't stick around to see what he did and how he did it. He's not concerned with the items maybe he used in that moment, because God moves him in such a way, he's on to the next thing. Right. You know, he might have asked for a Holy Quran or something on a rostrum, you give it to him, and the minister teaches, and you know, he's not caught up in the Quran, the book, he just needed one. Right. But somebody like me see that and say, hey, this was the Quran the minister used, so we're going to put this away. Or that's how Brother Akbar was for him, always taking notes of their meetings, saving the pictures, the imagery, the articles, all of those things. And so we have kindred spirits in that respect, because it's one thing to collect the history of the nation as a whole, and of course the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but it would be a disservice for us not to reflect upon that the Honorable Minister has been making history for 60 plus years. And so I've strived to make his ministry a life study, not just in speeches, but mannerism. You talked about, you know, his dress, but the thing about the minister is clothes don't make him, he makes the clothes. So that says something about the inner man. that brings beauty to that outer garment. Because I've seen the honorable minister in a sweatsuit, and all you spooky ones out there that act like he can't wear one. Like when you see some of us out of a suit, you lose your mind. We got on the walking suit today. A little lighten it up a little bit, right? Wear your suit and bow tie, minister.
Right.
But I've seen the honorable minister, no, honestly,
Yes.
in a sweatsuit. And it hit me. I said, he's beautiful in the sweatsuit because it's not the clothes, it's him. So he make the sweatsuit
He make
that look dignified. Where
if
good. I put one on and put my sneakers on, y'all know that look like Lil Los. But all praise is due to Allah for the beautiful example of our minister. Right. We thank Allah for his recording angel, Brother Akbar.
Praise be to Allah. Now that's a good segue for me to Brother Rahman, who I believe there's a tribute coming up for him also. Like for you to, by you being the archivist and the historian for the nation, you could give us a little background on Brother Rahman, and if you would address one specific thing I'd like to place on the table for those who think that Malcolm X, as much as we love but dear brother, was the one responsible for Muhammad Ali joining the Nation of Islam.
Well, the memorial for our brother Minister Abdul Rahman Muhammad is going to take place, inshallah, August 31st at Muhammad Mosque number 15 in Atlanta, Georgia.
Praise be to Allah.
And inshallah, Minister Farrakhan, I believe, is scheduled to come. But Allah has blessed me through the family to be an intricate part of the program that night, bringing our brother's history. And one of the most notable parts of Brother Rahman's history was fishing in Muhammad Ali. Though the pictures show it and the relationship between Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay at that time, it could appear that Malcolm fished him in. No, and just being honest, historically speaking, Malcolm just used the opportunity at a time when he was kind of going through some things and kind of needed some reassurance of his relevance. But that's a whole nother
yes, sir.
interview. But Minister Rahman not only brought that beautiful jewel to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but he was a faithful follower, soldier. He was a lieutenant at Mosque number 2, as well as served on the honor guard of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Wow.
That was formed. He, for many years at our big conventions and events, he ran the front rostrum post. He was the lieutenant in charge of the front rostrum post, and we have video footage of him walking the front post, and eventually became a great captain. But for many of us that knew Minister Rahman, he was always a soldier now. But the other part of him, which his name fits, he was really a spiritual man. And I got a chance to intimately learn that by the many times that he came here and watching how he taught, that he was very knowledgeable. He still continued to study the books and read the books. He never came to that rostrum not prepared. So these are things that I personally learned from him. But one day, because we call him the Rock of the South, we call him Rock, R-O-C-K.
Right.
And when we began to call him that, he shared with me, and maybe with others, but he did share with me, he said, one day the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, I didn't name you Rock. He said, brother, Rahman is not hard like a rock.
Good teaching.
Rahman is compassion and mercy. So, and if you really understood him, that was him. Really a compassionate and loving, caring brother, minister, family man, father to us all. And he's greatly missed in the physical, no doubt. But guess what? He did such a tremendous work. We will never allow his name to go down in vain. And he became a rock.
Yes.
Something solid we could stand on.
Absolutely.
In another note. So we're looking forward on August the 31st to lift him up and share what he meant to us. Sir. And in that manner, he will never die.
Praise be to Allah. So, brother, we're going to close out, but I would like to one more question. This was actually twofold. Recently, you were in, I think, Charlotte, and then you traveled quite a bit. Where will you be? Because I know people want to know where you are, what you're doing, and also along with that question, senior moment here, brother.
No, that's okay.
You know, let's deal with that one first, and I know what it is.
Okay.
Praise be to Allah. How can they stay in touch with you? I know you don't do Facebook, but how can people reach out to you?
Yes, well, I'll do that first. For all of those that may not be following Nation of Islam Archives or NOI Archives, our main platform of operation that you can follow us on and learn from is NOI Archives on Instagram. So you can go to Instagram, go to IG and type in NOI ARCHIVES Archives, NOI Archives on Instagram. And you can follow us, and I mean, we've posted over the years. You can go and basically drink from that fountain. And we're posting not so much daily, but we post enough that there's always something to do it. So if you follow us on NOI Archives already or become a new follower, please click the notification. Turn on your notifications so that you can be attached to us in that platform. Going to the other question in terms of traveling, inshallah, we will be back on the Nation of Islam Archive Tour with the artifacts as well as the feature film screenings that we do in the cities now. On the weekend of September the 22nd, we'll be in Detroit, Michigan. So the 21st and 22nd, big shout out to Student Minister Troy Muhammad and all of the mighty believers at Mosque Number 1. Who have just recently had their mosque dedicated, new mosque and school by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So we're looking forward to heading back to Detroit as we get prepared for Savior's Day 2020. But big shout out to Student Minister Corey and Charlotte and all the other cities, Minister Donald. We were just recently in St. Louis with the archives and all of the cities that have allowed me over the years to come there. So if you want Nation of Islam Archives to come to your city with all of the artifacts dating back to the 30s with letters of Master Fard Muhammad and bring it all the way forward with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, let your student minister know that we are available to come to your city, and we look forward to serving the believers in the community with the 89-year history and narrative of the Nation of Islam.
Praise be. Thank you so much, beloved.
Thank you.
You know, I would like to personally dub this after notes. You know, since you spoke today, and this is some after note thoughts. So inshallah, we might call it that from now on. After notes.
Yeah, after notes.
After notes. You know.
Yes, sir.
So we look forward to hearing more from you. There you have it, family. Brother Student Minister Carlos Muhammad, who's in charge of the believers, and believe it or not, the safety and the security and the belief in God and the oneness of humanity here in the city of Baltimore. Awesome responsibility. He wears the hat of Imam along with the student minister, the archivist. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a brother. We thank you so much for your time, beloved. May Allah, God, continue to bless you and keep you. Ameen. Family, we greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Assalamu alaikum, family. Thank you all so much. Alhamdulillah.
Praise Allah.